Welcome into another edition of Meet the Bird Gang. Today we're joined by another 2019 Orleans Firebird. He's also an NCAA national champion at Vanderbilt University. It's left-handed pitcher Jake Eder. Jake, how you doing?
Doing good, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So you played in the Cape last summer. Can you just give me a rundown of your experience there? You went late after winning that national title with the Commodores. So what was July like up on Cape Cod?
Yeah, so I got there late, met all the guys, kind of got integrated with everyone, kind of blended in. I stayed with the Thompsons, which they were awesome. They gave me a great place to stay, and they were an awesome host family. They came out to every game and supported us, so that was awesome. But, yeah, so when I got there, my first appearance was out of the pen, and I threw just like 2 innings or something like that. And then I kind of got worked into the starting rotation and made 4 starts, I believe, throwing like 5 innings each.
So back and forth between pen and starter is something that was kind of mirrored with your time at Vanderbilt. But before we get into that, I want to go back to your high school days, kind of senior year, that transition. You were picked out of high school, 34th round by the Mets. You were also an All-American your junior year. So you had those accolades. But what was the transition like stepping on campus at Vanderbilt, where really your entire team was that guy from their town?
Yeah, it was cool. It was I traveled a lot, when I was younger, so being away from home wasn't a big deal. But it's just kind of transitioning into having school and then baseball be kind of all connected in a day, and managing that and balancing that schedule. So that's where the transition came in, and I was able to make it pretty quick and get acclimated quick with, as everyone is, at Vanderbilt. They kind of, from day one, that's the focus, is just kind of creating a routine and working into that. So it was a pretty smooth transition.
What was a day in the life of Jake Eder at Vanderbilt?
So I would always schedule my classes early just to get them out of the way. So I would get up and go to class, and I generally would have 2 classes in a day. There was sometimes when I'd have a heavier day with like a Tuesday, Thursday maybe, where I'd have 3, but for the most part, it'd be 2 classes in a day, and then that'd give me enough time to kind of go grab some lunch before I had to get to the field, and then we'd have everyone get to the field, have our classroom meeting, and then when we get out on the field and train, and then it's either study hall or whatever after that, whatever you got to do to get your work done.
So freshman year at Vanderbilt, you were a starter. You made 9 starts your first season on campus, but then as a sophomore, kind of transitioned into the bullpen, and now this year as a junior, you were back in the starting rotation. Was that kind of flip-flop something you expected going in, or was that talked about with Coach Corbin? How did you feel about moving back and forth?
It wasn't something that was really talked about. Roles are pretty fluid, so there's not much talk of roles and kind of what you're doing until you kind of get up on the season. So it wasn't planned. It wasn't talked about much. It was just kind of how it shook out and how I could help the team the best. So whatever role that was, whether it was as a starting role as a freshman, and then this year, or out of the pen my sophomore year, it was just kind of how it crumbled and went down. So,
do you have a preference? What are you more comfortable in, a starting spot or a bullpen guy?
Yeah, I prefer starting just because it lets me keep a routine. It's when I know exactly when I'm going, when I'm starting, and I can kind of, the days in between, stick to my routine and be on schedule. So I definitely prefer starting.
And as a guy who's done it both, how does your mentality change at all as a starter versus reliever, and if so, how?
I would say a little bit, out of the pen, depending on if you're a later inning, if you're, middle relief or closing. I've closed a little bit. I've done middle relief. So I've done both, but, as a closer, it's almost like kind of, you're coming in and it's just straight attack and nothing else. And you're just, you're getting 3 outs, and and just going right after guys. Whereas it's the same mentality in all the roles, but it's a little more, as a starter, you're pitching more rather than overpowering guys, I would say. As a starter, you're executing off-speed pitches and doing things that can, help you be efficient and get out of innings quicker. Whereas out of the pen, you can just kind of come out and blow it out a little bit.
All right, awesome. So let's go to the end of your sophomore year. You're in Omaha, pitching in the national championship game, a 3-inning save. You allowed only 1 run. What's going through your head when you're on the mound? And then what's the feeling when you get that save?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was there was a ton of 40,000 fans, something like that, and the place was going nuts. And especially I remember distinctly when I got 2 outs in that 9th inning. It was like everything seemed louder, all the lights seemed brighter, and it was kind of like I had to kind of calm down a little bit and then take a breath and be like, all right, just execute, 1 pitch at a time here, and it'll be over soon enough. So and it was just I kind of was able to take a second and kind of breathe it in before I started on that last batter, and it was cool. It was unbelievable.
So a lot of guys who make deep runs into Omaha with the College World Series don't always go play in summer ball. That was not a decision you made. You went to Orleans. What was it like going mid-July, going from the mound of the national championship game to the mound at Eldridge Park?
Yeah, I think it was good just for me, just because I was already I was coming off of that, and I didn't really shut down or stop throwing. So I just kind of came from that and got right into a groove right when I got to the Cape. And I was able to make starts in the Cape. I was able, like I was saying before, I was able to get kind of in that routine and kind of get in a groove, and everything started to kind of click and felt good. So the transition was smooth, and it was, I think, a good one for me.
And you were very, very solid on the Cape, a 1.2 ERA in your 15 innings. So let's go to a little bit about you growing as a baseball player or even a person. This is something I talked about with Kelly Nicholson, your coach at Orleans, but what's something you feel you learned a lot from Tim Corbin and Scott Brown during your time at Vandy?
Yeah, I would say going back to routines and from day one, that's a big focus in our program. And it's easy you go to the Cape and you're on your own. It's easy to kind of lose track of a day and exactly the things that you want to get done. So kind of being able to take the routine that I built at Vanderbilt, and those guys helped me create and just kind of bring it to a different environment, whether it's anywhere in summer ball or the Cape or whatever, and being there and kind of being able to just replicate that and bring what I've done at Vanderbilt right there to the Cape. It was definitely a big part of my consistency and kind of getting in that groove.
And then on the Cape, what is perhaps the biggest thing or most important thing you gained or learned your time there specifically?
The biggest thing I worked on and felt good about in the Cape was just kind of mixing pitches and being efficient as a starter. That was the thing. Out of the pen, my sophomore year, I threw a lot of fastballs. I was really fastball heavy, and when I got to the Cape, I was mixing fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, really well, and it allowed me to. It made things a lot easier for me. It allowed me to, be efficient, get out of innings quick, and be successful in that. So that was the biggest thing that I kind of started to transition into, when I was making my starts in the Cape.
So everyone in the baseball world knows the Cape League is perhaps the mecca of especially summer baseball. Why is it that everybody raves about the Cape Cod Baseball League? What makes it so special?
I think it's for sure has to do with the hype around it. It's because it's just been such a big thing. It is a big thing. And then, and then once you get there, it's like the experience is is unbelievable. You're with, I was with the Thompsons, like I said, and they were unbelievable. As a host family, they took care of us. They were supported us. We're at every game. And just kind of being at, there's some history to those parks and playing there and traveling around and also, being with those guys, from different schools is a big part of it too. It's you're meeting guys that, you may have played against or are going to play against, and you kind of create relationships there. And that's really cool. And those relationships kind of go beyond the Cape, and you keep talking to each other after that. And, you maybe you guys end up in pro ball together or whatever. So I think it's kind of the whole package is what makes it such a great experience.
Who are some of the guys from that Orleans team that you would say you're still in pretty consistent contact with?
Yeah, Adam Seminaris, I talked to him. I got a little closer with most of the pitchers just because, I was just with them more, so I just had more exposure with them. And Chase Wallace, he's at University of Tennessee, so we would have gotten to play him, but everything got cut short. Let's see, there was Adam, Chase. Just trying to think back. I never got a chance to play with Wilcox. He'd gone to USA before I ever got there. But honestly, I talked to all those guys, and we keep in contact through whether it's Instagram or social media or whatever. So, what are some of the things you would do with the guys outside of baseball on the Cape? We went to the beach a couple times. I know we didn't really get in the water because there were seals swimming around, but so they had the red flags and all that, and then advised us not to get in the water. So, but yeah, we went to the beach. We went one day. We did a home run derby for the pitchers before in one of the mornings before one of the games. That was
fun. Who won that?
Shoot, I can't. I know Seminaris did not win it. I can tell you that for sure.
Or how many did you
I'm trying to think who won. Shoot. I hit a decent amount. I want to say I hit like 7 or 8, so not bad. I can't remember who won, but there was a couple guys that were hitting a bunch out, and then everyone else was struggling pretty bad.
Well, I know Nick Garcia was a two-way player for a while, so I'm sure he's got a pretty nice swing.
I think he was one of the guys up there that was hitting. He hit 5 or 6, I want to say.
Awesome. So home run derby. So you're still kind of baseball centric, even when it's not in the on the field competitive fashion.
Yeah, yeah. It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So what are some of the things that maybe you personally like to do outside of baseball? What are Jake Eder's other interests?
Yeah, anything outdoors really. I like to, whether it's fishing or hunting or whatever. Right now I've been trying to get a little fishing done. It's some of the boat ramps are starting to open up, so that's kind of gives us access to the lakes around here. But yeah, when it's hunting season, that's what I like to be doing, and when I have time, go fishing, whatever, anything outdoors.
All right, one more Cape question. Best spot to eat on the Cape?
I'm going to say the Thompson's house, just because we'd come back from games and one of the days Paige got some lobster for us, cooked that up. Sometimes he'd grill out some steak, and so yeah, he was money.
Yeah, that's pretty good eating right there. So let's move on to your draft preparation. Now you're recently training down in Tampa. How's that whole situation going? Obviously, not everything's open up. You're not playing. Didn't have a full spring. What's the draft preparation like?
Yeah, it's going really good for me. I've been able to take this time to kind of when we first got back, I stopped throwing for about a month, and then picked back up, started building back up, and then now I'm throwing bullpens. I was over in Tampa there's a place there that I train at. So I was there all last week. I'll be there all this week. So it's been good to, it's obviously this isn't what anyone wanted, but, you just got to take advantage of, the opportunity and see it as an opportunity to just get better. So that's what I've been doing.
You've been drafted before, so if you're selected this year, it won't be the first time, but what makes this go about the right time to make the leap for professional baseball?
I don't know. I would just say, that, out of high school, I wasn't really ready, to be a professional baseball player. And, I would say most high school guys aren't. And, once you go to college and, you kind of are able to get different perspective and understand that. And, you mature and you go through things in college that, are similar to things you might have gone through in pro ball, but, you have more of a support structure with, when you're out of school. And so they help you get through, those things. And, once you get to that point, then you're in a much better place, I think, than, to start, become a professional baseball player and pursue that.
All right, awesome. So I like to incorporate a little game into all of these, kind of more of a rapid fire question. It's called the cycle. 4 questions, single, double, triple, home run. They kind of get a little more intense as you get toward the long ball. So if you're up for it, the single question is just the best place to eat on or around the Vanderbilt campus.
I'm saying Chipotle.
Chipotle? What's your go-to order?
Burrito bowl. Brown rice, black beans, double chicken.
That's a good move. Now for the double. A lot of pitchers or guys have ritual or superstition. What are 2 things you do before every game you pitch?
So I listen to music, rap music usually, gets me fired up. And I do a little meditation before I start getting going, warming up.
Those things kind of contrast a little bit.
Yeah. I actually have the earbuds in while I'm doing so don't call it meditation, call it presence, getting present. Just kind of getting in the moment.
Do you have a favorite artist at the moment that's on that playlist?
I usually go Eminem.
Eminem? All right, now for the 3-bagger. Between Vanderbilt and the Orleans Firebirds, your 3 funniest teammates.
Firebirds, Adam Seminaris, Austin Martin, Vanderbilt, and I gotta go Hugh Fisher. So 2 Vandy guys, one Orleans, yeah.
And the home run question, a little more about you. If you're meeting somebody for the first time ever and you can only describe yourself with 1 word, what is that
word? I would say dedicated.
All right, so just a few more things before we wrap this up. We'll go back to a little more baseball. We got away from it for a bit. Found out you're a big Eminem and Chipotle guy. Yeah. Is there a particular season or year in your life where you feel you grew the most as a baseball player?
Yeah, I would say it was probably that time in between, when I was at the Cape, in between sophomore year and going into junior fall. It was kind of a confidence booster to a degree, and it was, I kind of came into myself a little bit. So yeah, that would probably be where I grew as a baseball player the most.
The final question, between Little League, travel ball, college ball, summer ball, I think I probably know where this answer is. What is your very best baseball memory or moment?
Yeah, that's an easy one. It's got to be obviously, winning the national championship. That team. That team from day one was different, was special, and that entire year obviously ended up culminating into something amazing. But even all the memories leading up to that point, were unbelievable, and so that was without question that was the best season ever for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Jake. That's all the time we have on Meet the Bird Gang. Once again, it's national champion Orleans Firebird pitcher Jake Eder.